All right, guys, so we're going to be competing with this other talk that's going out there. So, how was homework so far? How was homework for week 2 or week 3? Okay. Actually, yeah, no worries. So, week 4 is a follow-up. So, it gives you guys the opportunity to basically complete and improve, right? So, that's what week 4, I think, assignment is to basically take your existing one and add fragments, which is what we're going to go over today. How many of you, just raise your hands, no if you didn't, yes if you did. Open if you used, if you guys used the project file that was already given for you for the OAuth. So how many? How many people use, okay, how many people use TwitterKit? TwitterKit? TwitterKit, Fabric, Twitter, okay, cool. So just an overview of, so when we were basically working on week 3 assignment, there was basically, this OAuth was done for you, right? So OAuth is, as you guys might have seen and experienced, right? It takes you through a set of flows, it kicks you out to a web view, and then once you sign in, it basically takes you back into your app, right? And that's great for you guys to experience, but Twitter also provides you something called TwitterKit, which makes it much easier so that you don't have to mess with your flow as much. So if you guys are interested, the nice thing about TwitterKit is that it provides like very easy access to your Twitter sessions and stuff like that. So you can pretty much do login, and once you log in, you will basically get a Twitter session. And then in this Twitter session, you'll have like your auth tokens and stuff that you can call. And then you don't have to redefine your models and stuff. They actually have models for you that you can work with. So that might make it a little bit easier. But it is, just to repeat, OAuth is important because if you work with other services, that's something that you'll need to know. But for the purposes of homework, if you guys want to move to more like something that's a little bit easier to use, TwitterKit using Fabric is really good. And TwitterKit also, or Fabric actually allows you to also do, how many people have used Fabric? No? Yes? No? Yes? You use Fabric? So Fabric also does crash detections. So if there's ever a crash, it'll message you. So if that's something you guys are interested in playing around with, go ahead and add that to your projects for homework 4. Okay? Okay, sweet. So we have our screenshot of the projects that were done. Really great job, guys. Tian and Hum, you guys had 2 of the best projects. Really great job. Well done on implementation and UI. Daniel and Feng also had the most amount of bonus points. Spent a lot of time on the bonus side. We do want you to complete the required stuff. So for this next version, this homework 4, like maybe if you guys have time, like definitely work on that. Also, you did a great job. Completed all the required work, so that was a really good job. And if you spend even more time on the UI, we would love to see that for homework 4. Okay? Cool. Awesome work, guys. And again, thanks for everyone submitting. It did come down to the wire again, but I guess we're kind of used to it. Okay. Awesome. Good job, guys. Okay, cool. So the other thing that I did not express is that Daniel was the only one who punched in ideas into this. We're going to take a lot more time today to focus on this, but you guys should like think about, like we're actually going to start doing group formations today. So we're going to take a solid amount of time for you guys to discuss and actually even start brainstorming how you guys want to build things. So if you guys have time, like, don't get distracted, of course, by this, but if you guys have time or have time to like type it in, type some ideas in, please do that now, or during the group session, which will be later on in the course. Is that okay, guys? Now, don't be shy. It's all about team building here. We want the teams to succeed more so than the ideas. Okay. Ideally both. Okay. Cool. And if you guys, the reason why I brought up Product Hunt was Product Hunt. It's actually almost like a database of ideas, and you guys can see what has been done out there. I actually submitted one of my projects yesterday. Let's see, and I was featured. See, that's me. Okay. All right. So you guys can do the same. It's kind of a plug for myself, but anyways, cool. All right, guys. So let's dive into lecture. Okay. So what are we kind of going to talk about today, but not really talk about today? These advanced views, right? Most of these advanced views you guys have already started using, like radio group, checkbox. People use rating bar, right? Most of you guys have used rating bar. So again, these are things that you guys can figure out. You guys already have a solid understanding of views and how to sort of interact with them. So we're not going to dive too much into them. Okay. But today, you have progress bar, which sort of interacts with a sync task if you want, right? Stuff like that. So don't really want to spend too much time on that. But today, what we are going to do is talk about fragments. So for the purpose of the fragments, I'm going to create a new project right now in version. But what we're actually going to do is we're going to start off with the navigation drawer activity. How many of you have used a drawer activity? No? Yes. All right, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3? Okay, so most of you haven't. Okay, so we'll talk about that really quick, okay? All right, so it's creating. Close this. Okay, creating. Sorry. I think this is on 4. Okay. All right. Syncing Gradle. All right, guys. And then I'm actually just going to run the project so you guys can see how everything works. Right? Oh, and the text is big enough for you guys now, right? Cool. All right, let's run this. So how many of you guys know fragments or know about fragments? No, yes. It's kind of. 1, 2, 3. Okay, most of you guys. So who do I want to call on? What's a fragment? Explain that a little bit.
It's different from activity. When you want to make a dynamic view on an activity, you use a fragment so that you can change it on dynamic view.
Okay. So I understand what you're getting, but how does it differ from an activity? If that's the case. So what?
It's life cycle is different from activity.
Okay, so but what makes it different? Do you guys know? Anyone?
It's based on activity. Right? It's based on activity to live.
Okay, so just to sort of describe how fragments came along, activities were kind of just created when Android first started. So there was no notion of fragments. But most of the people who have worked with Swift or anything like that, you can create something called like a child view controller. So what that means is if you think about MVC, MVP, what I've talked about, right? You can actually nest presenters because what you want to do is you want, especially if a screen is very, very complicated, you want like your logic to only go on one presenter to control maybe a different portion of the screen, right? So, but the reason why fragments came along is because they wanted to do this, but activities just didn't work because they were so tightly coupled with the rendering and stuff of a full screen that they came up with this notion of a fragment. It's actually pretty terrible, like in terms of design structure, like how they came along with this, because that's, if you actually go look at the code, it's pretty bad. But the idea is actually a child view controller. Does that make sense to everyone? Like you have an activity, which is really like the root view controller, and then a child view controller or child presenter is attached to it. So you can basically allow you can basically put the logic into each one of these fragments to control different portions of the screen. Okay, and we can actually bring up the slides here so we can sort of see what that looks like. And the other course is like because of the switching of screens all the time or different, like building for different sizes. In this case, for a phone, you would have two separate fragments, but in this one you could combine two of them and show them at the same time, right? So basically, again, the fragment controls whatever you designate on the screen. You can put your logic inside of it, and they're very modular, right? You can basically reuse them and combine them how you wish. Cool? Does that make sense? Of course, like there's like sort of a more formalized explanation here, but if you guys want to reference, just go and look at these slides. I won't dive into it too much. Okay? Cool. All right, so before we go into fragments though, we should sort of talk about this drawer activity, right? So most of us have experienced the menu screen, but for drawers, you have to do something slightly different with your layout. So you have activity main. As you can see, we have a drawer layout item. And then if you look at the main activity, before, remember, if we wanted like on option selected, this was for the menu, the drop down. But in this case, we have this on navigation item selected, which is specifically for the drawer. Okay? And of course, you have to do a little bit of setup in your on create. We won't go into the details of this because it's similar to what you have to do with menu setup, right? Okay? Is that clear for everyone? Sweet. And so as of right now, if I select any item, it does nothing, right? Okay? No big deal. Okay? So let's go ahead and create a fragment then. So let's sort of name them, let's build two. Let's build gallery and slideshow. And we'll just put random stuff in it. But okay, so we have fragment. So there's two fragments. You guys should look at compatibility, but of course this comes back to like compatibility libraries and what versions you want to support. But I typically extend from support, just for the sake of being able to be sort of more backwards compatible with some of the older Android versions. Okay, cool. So let's sort of look at fragment lifecycle. So you were right; they definitely have a different lifecycle, right? And so it's different in that the activity gets created, and then whenever you create a fragment, they go through its own lifecycle relative to the activity lifecycle. But it's a little bit more granular, right? So we have on attach, we have on create view, on activity created. So on activity is created is basically when on create finishes. So if we look at main activity, basically that gets called after on create gets run. Okay. On attach is basically when they know there's an association between an activity and the fragment. Because fragments, again, are standalone, but they will associate a new fragment with an activity. So that's when you get the on attach. And then, of course, it has an on create, like after that assignment, and then on create view. So this on create view is more similar to what we saw with It's just a little bit more granular control. It's more similar to what we were seeing with like recycle views, right? You get an on-create view for your adapter. Okay. And okay, so we have this gallery fragment. Let's actually just create a new layout, and we can call it fragment gallery. Okay. And let's just drop, for this purposes, I don't know, an image or something like that, okay? An image, okay? We'll just drop this in. Okay, and we'll just choose something random like this, okay? Okay, so how do you now get the fragment into your activity? Right? So as of right now, what we have in this content main is just this hello world, right? That's what we see here. So there's two ways to deal with fragments. One is that you can dynamically assign them, or you can statically assign them. Okay, does that make sense, guys? So statically means like you basically just put it into your XML, and it will know to expand that out when it basically inflates the XML file. So the way we do that is they have this fragment with, okay, let's actually change this to linear, sorry, change this to linear layout with, okay, let's make this match parent, match parent, dot content. Actually, let's make this here TP. Weight of 1, and then we are going to change this orientation to was it vertical? Okay, cool. Right? Nothing new. You guys have already done this before. But the one thing about Fragment here is, I think if we run this, it will actually just crash. So it requires, if you put in a fragment statically, it requires a class. Right, let's see. Did it crash? Did it crash? Yeah, crash, right? So basically here you want to assign a class. And so we have the gallery fragment, and then if we debug that, that should work. Whoops, also crashed. What happened? Did I forget to do something? Oh, yeah, you have to specify an ID, okay? That's the other thing. So ID, let's see, we can call this fragment container, okay? And I'll talk about why we need that ID in a sec. Uh-oh, what happened? Oh, sorry. I didn't implement. Okay, yep. So let's override some methods, right? On create view. Let's actually just put all of them in, right? On attach. What were the other ones? On create. And what's the last one? Right, on activity created, right? On activity created, right? Okay, cool. So here, what do? We call inflator, inflates. Our resource is what? I layout fragment gallery, right? Container, and then false, right? We don't want to assign to add it to the parent. And then we return, okay? Cool, and it shows up. Perfect, right? Okay, so that's great, but now what if we want to make it dynamic? So we currently use, what do we use? We basically just use in our XML the static fragment stuff. So what should we use in order to make it dynamic? Does anyone know? Frame layout. So what does frame layout do? Does anyone know? Exactly. It's actually used a lot of times for basically a deferred assignment. You know you want to take up a specific area, so you basically add it in, right? It's designed just to block out an area, and then you can dynamically assign that in. Okay, so let's add that. Well, what we can do is we can simply change this to a frame layout, right? ID, and then we remove this class. Okay. But what would sort of be the point of this, right? It's great for this, but let's try to create a different permutation of content main for landscape. Okay, so then we kind of can see how we want to how we want to allocate our space slightly differently. So let's say I do a new layout resource. What are we going to call content main again? Directory layout, but what do we want to add? We want to add orientation, right? And we want to do landscape. Yep. Does that make sense, guys? Okay, so you can see that it adds that permutation. Hopefully you guys have done this before. Let's copy this, add it here. So I'm actually adding this text up here just because we're going to do something interesting with it later. But in this case, let's add another linear layout, orientation, horizontal with match parents, heights 0 to p, and then layout weight equals 1. Okay, and then inside, let's copy this frame out. Okay, twice. Okay, so layout 1, heights, we will do match parent. Layout width, we will do, 0 dp, because we want, let's say, half. And then we should name this container 2. Sorry, what was that? dp. Okay, that makes sense, right? So we can kind of see what that looks like over in design, right? So you have, yes? Okay, and then what do we need to do? So in the main activity, now what we want to do is programmatically make this assignment. Yeah? So basically when we change, let's say when we select new gallery, on navigation item selected, we want to dynamically show that fragment. Okay. So we want for that to actually behave exactly the same, like when we add it, right? So basically, let's just create a function, show fragment. Okay, and that will take a fragment, support fragment. Okay, so there's this thing called the fragment manager. And this is where it gets confusing, right? Like, what is the purpose of this fragment manager? So, again, the reason why we have to give an ID for a fragment is because it's making this association, right, from the activity to a fragment. And so that's actually a really tight binding. So you basically have a fragment manager that executes like these dynamic changes to all the fragments within an activity. In my opinion, it's actually a terrible design. Like if you actually look at the code, it's pretty bad. But what they were trying to do is get it to exist with the existing activity structure, and they had to add this extra thing, this delegate thing for like controlling how fragments are added and reloaded. Okay. So there's Fragment Manager and there's Support Fragment Manager. Since we're using support library, we'll call get support fragment. So the thing is, when you start a change in fragments, you actually have to call begin transaction. So this is transactional. The fragment manager is transactional. Can anyone sort of talk about why? You have experience. You have experience. I want to hear. Right. So there's a lot of things, right? For example, fragments, as we'll talk about later, you have to actually control when it gets added to the stack, right? And a lot of things can happen, right? You could potentially replace a fragment, you can add a fragment, and not only that, what you want that to happen is you want that to be all in one commit, so that when you press the back button, all those things will reverse itself, right? So again, transactional. It's transactional because you're basically saying, please execute these transformations in the fragment all in one go, and then record it, okay? I also think there's something to do with like how it draws too, because you want all of it to happen at once. I've sort of talked about like the looper and the main thread and how that works, but we won't dive into that too much, but there is some dynamic on that front as well. But anyways, begin transaction. So this basically creates a fragment transaction. And in this case, for transaction, we want to replace. So our ID is fragment container, and then we can just add the fragment in here, okay? And then transaction commit, okay? So basically you execute, and now these changes in their fragment, and then you commit them all at once. And then so here we can just call what? Show fragment, new gallery fragment, okay? Actually, since I'm at it, let's just so that we can show change, I can just copy this, right? I can call this slideshow fragment. Show fragment. We will create a new fragment called slideshow. And again, we will throw an image in there. Okay, so most of this is pretty straightforward. I will actually show how this can get pretty complicated in a sec, okay? Okay, and then again, for here, we want to, so what happens when you change and make copies, right? So slideshow for your layout, and then in your main activity, call show fragment, new slideshow fragment, right? Cool? Does that make sense? Okay, and let's run this. Hope it works. No more crashes, right? Waiting. Okay, sweet. So nothing is shown, right? Why is nothing shown in this case? Exactly, it's just a frame layout. It's not until we actually execute does it switch, right? Okay, but what happens now if we press this back button? Can anyone guess? Okay, can you guess? What happens when we press back? Exit. Okay, why is that?
I think when I wrote documents about Fragment, it said that when we want the user boost the bytecode to call after backstack.
Yeah, so exactly. Fragments, you require if you wanted to add it to the backstack, you have to manually make that assignment. Okay? If you don't, then that's exactly what's going to happen, right? We have nothing on our backstack. We just have the main activity. We click back. Yeah, it's not going to give you what you want. Okay, so what we can do is we can say transaction add to backstack, and then we can say no. So you can actually name it. So does anyone know what that string does? Add to backstack in add to backstack do? Exactly. Yep. Yeah, exactly. So you can basically, for backstack, you can actually remove entire stack based off of a name. So if you have like multiple things pushing onto the same stack, you can remove it all in one name. So, but in this case, since we want it to be part of the regular backstack, we just add null. Debug. And right, right, it goes back. Okay. What's the other thing we need to do? We need to show if that rotation works. No. We also need to show that it only shows on 1/2. Right? Cool. Does that make sense? All right. So how can we make this a little bit more complicated? What if we want to random, like for horizontal purposes, we want if someone selects gallery for it to show up on this pane. Do you guys see? So what is the complications of this? Can anyone see? Like what do you have to do in your activity? It becomes a little bit more complicated, right? Detect configuration change? Okay. So definitely saving state. But in this case, the challenge though is that we're still using the same activity. So we want to, so yes, definitely saving the state is important. But another additional thing is you want to detect, in this case, because one layout has 2 container frame layouts and the other one only has 1, you want to detect when you only have 1 frame layout versus the other, right? Does that make sense? So let's try that. Okay, so we can actually do this pretty easily, right? So we have onCreate, we set this main activity, and let's say we can try it like Boolean, I don't know, like has dual pane. Okay, let's say that's false right now. But then what onCreate, after this gets created, we can simply just do has dual pane equals find view by ID r ID container 2 what not equal to null, right? That would tell us if we have a dual pane or not. Okay, so then
I forgot to semicolon.
oh, sorry. My bad. Nice catch, guys. Okay, and then what can we do here? We can say we can actually do a random assignment, right? Let's just say we want to. For this purposes, let's call it random rando. And then rando next boolean, say if it's 0, let's use the original. Oh, sorry, we have to do. Let's be diligent about this. Okay. Container ID. Let's say container ID by default is what? Default container. If has dual panel, then let's randomly assign this, right? This is somewhat messy code. You guys can definitely knows. Just making sure you guys are aware of this. And then Yeah? Does that all make sense? So if it has dual pane, we're going to randomly assign it to one of these panes. If not, then just use the first container. Okay? So let's debug that. See if it works. Oops. Okay. All right. Gallery, slideshow. Right? Okay. Rotate. Right? It ran. Hopefully, yeah. See, it randomly is assigning one. Right? Does that make sense? Cool. So you could effectively, if you think about it, in a single activity, you can design your code to handle, as we sort of showed, in the slides. Sorry, not the slide. Right? This versus this. Right? So you can basically have the one activity easily be written for a tablet as well as a phone. Cool? Is that making sense?
Yes. Fragment versus when there is option that commit allow you not losing state.
So you're saying if a fragment loses state, right? So there's actually an ability to save that. So you can actually get support fragment. Oops. Get support fragment manager, and I think it's save fragment instance, and you get a save state. And then when you create it, you can actually use that save state again, right? You can pass that back in. Is that what you're saying?
No, in the persistent commit there is not option.
What, this one?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. So, okay, well, okay, so what is your question? Basically, you're asking what's the difference between commit and allow state loss? So one's you can commit and you don't really care if you lose state, right? All right. Guess I'm not sure exactly what you're asking.
I don't know what is the purpose of commit
Oh, I see. I actually haven't used commit allowing state loss, so I don't know, to be honest. I guess it depends on the situation, right? It might arise. I guess I have to understand. So let's see what it does. If this commit is attempted after that point, the exception is committed with this method. If this method is attempted after that point, actually, this is because state activity can be lost if the activity needs to be restored. Oh, I see. So there's a few reasons why activity can get recreated, right? One case is what, like rotation. I think there's a few others. So if you don't really care, then I think you can just say commit allowing state loss. But I think in all the other cases, I think for the most part you want this commit. You want to recreate the state, right? I think there's an example of that I'll show later, where it will come up. But I don't know. Have you ever used commit using state loss? Yeah, it's always commit, right? Okay. Yeah, I haven't seen a practical application for it yet either. Maybe there's a situation with one of those. We'll get to it. They have like fragment managers and stuff, like a view pager or something that it might come up. Okay, cool. All right, is everyone good with this? Yes? Okay. Let's take a 3-minute break, and then we'll start the next part, which is communicating between fragments. Okay, and this is probably the thing that gets more interesting. Okay?